I'm just gonna be spitting some real shit. So I've been getting back into the sport of NASCAR. It may sound like American redneck thing to say, but I have. I've got back into NASCAR. I started to say that with a little bit of a southern accent. But when I was real little, like, oh Jesus, when I grew up basically watching NASCAR and baseball. And it was literally all I would fucking watch. It was back when the late 90s, early 2000s, when the Yankees were fucking gigantic. Yankees are still my favorite team. I still love them, but NASCAR was massive in my family because of Dale Earnhardt. He basically gave lifeblood to my family, and when he died in 2001, that was a massive shock. Like, I barely watched NASCAR after that. I would watch it literally every damn week. Every week I had every single NASCAR game up until basically 2001, and then I stopped because of his death. It was so massive, and it hit me so hard because I didn't really like any other driver. I didn't like anyone else. I hated Jeff. The only other driver I kind of liked was like probably Bobby Labonte. But that was probably about it. Like, I hated Terry. I didn't like Dale Jarrett. I didn't like anyone else. I only liked the 3-car. And I loved the 3-car. Like, I still have multiple 3-cars still in their package with the card, like, just sitting up. Like, I have so much Dale merch. It's ridiculous. But I keep hearing all these talks about who's the greatest of all time. They always bring up Richard Petty and Kyle Busch, just because those two guys have 200 wins. I mean, Kyle has 3 series that kind of add up to his 200 wins, which is it is a different record in and of itself. Because just because Kyle Busch has, I think it's 201 wins because he won yesterday, but the kid has 201 wins across 3 different cups, across 3 different series. Granted, one of them is Xfinity, so he's basically driving stock cars twice. But the other one's truck, and they handle so much different than the stock cars. And I know he has the record for truck series wins and Xfinity series wins, but for me, it's not the same record, because Kyle Busch has been able to do it across 3 different series, while Petty's only done it against 1. But also, when people bring up the greatest of all time talks for NASCAR, they only bring up those 2 names, and it always has just struck me as weird, because only 3 guys have 7 Cup championships, and that's Petty, Earnhardt, and Jimmy Johnson. Granted, Jimmy Johnson hasn't raced against the competition that Dale did. I'll get into Richard Petty later, but like, oh Jesus Christ! Oh, zoomed in! No, zoom back out. Okay, I think that's one reason why people don't bring up Jimmy Johnson when they talk about the greatest of all time in terms of Cup championships, because Jimmy, he raced against pretty decent competition. He raced against Harvick, the Busch brothers, Gordon, Dale Jr., but then it's like no one really pushed him very hard. Like, I think Jimmy's more recognized for winning, I think it was 3 or 4 in a row, and less recognized for the 7 that he has, because when he was first coming up, he had some stiff competition, but like later on in Jimmy's racing career, like, he hasn't really raced against anyone really. Kevin Harvick's on the decline, even though it pains me to say that, because he's my favorite driver right now. Kyle Busch has taken control of the series, like of the Cups, but like Jimmy hasn't really raced against anyone. But Dale had tough fucking competition. He had to race against Michael Waltrip. He had to race against Jeff Gordon when Jeff Gordon was first coming in, and Gordon was on fire. Gordon came in ready to fuck shit up, and he fucking did. Earnhardt had a race against Dale Jarrett and Rusty Wallace and the Labanis. Terry especially. Terry was better than Bobby. I'm just going to say that right now. But Dale's competition was fierce. And it was insane. Basically, at the height of NASCAR in this country was the early 90s, late 90s. And Dale Earnhardt was in the middle of that. And he was still able to come out with Cup championships, which blows my mind. People don't include Dale in the greatest of all time chants. Greatest of all time talks. How the fuck can you do that to that man? I am a little biased because I'm a massive Dale fan. But I also think I'm coming at this kind of at an unbiased view. How can you say, when you say who's the greatest of all time, you say Petty versus Kyle Busch. Let me turn that on. And you don't even include Jimmy Johnson, who has the same amount of fucking championships as Dale and Petty. But then you don't even include Dale in those talks at all. That blows my fucking mind. There's, you can't name me 3 people who raced against Richard Petty that you still remember today. Cale Yarborough. That's about it. That's the only one I can fucking remember. Petty didn't really race against anybody. And he also raced for, I think it's 30, he raced 32 full-time series. He was actively participant in the Cup. I think it was 38 seasons. For 38 fucking years, Richard Petty was in the Cup. 38 fucking years. I think Earnhardt only had 27. He had 10 less years in the Cup. Period. And he has just as many championships. And how can you not include Dale Earnhardt as in your greatest of all time talks? It is fucking ridiculous. The man who competed for 10 less years. He probably would have competed for 10 more years had he not died in 2001. Motherfuckers. No one talks about Dale Earnhardt being the greatest of all time. And I don't understand why. Dale Earnhardt literally changed the fucking sport. How many fucking people were in the Cup now who were Dale Earnhardt fans? Kyle Busch was one. Austin Dillon's one. Jeff Gordon was one. Obviously, Dale Jr. was one. There's so many people who were influenced by Dale Earnhardt. I think you have to include him in the greatest of all time talks. Now, I know there was I think it was 1981 or 71, I think, was when NASCAR really amped up its cars and engines, and it was basically a gigantic turning point for the sport. But to not include Dale in those talks is thievery. It really is, because you're not giving the man what he deserved. He deserves to be in that greatest of all time discussion. Every time someone brings up Petty, I always bring up Earnhardt. What about Dale? What can you say about Dale that excludes him from not being in this greatest of all time talk? It's absolutely ridiculous. How can you say that Busch is part of the greatest of all time talks and not Dale Earnhardt? Congratulations for Busch on his 200 wins across 3 different series, but I feel like you're leaving out a really big name in the sport. Really changed the game and made NASCAR as mainstream and as popular as it still is today. Granted, it's lost some steam because you don't have those big rivalries anymore, but it's still very popular today, and I think Dale Earnhardt has had a massive contribution to that. He really did, because you know how many how much Dale Earnhardt merch is still just for sale, how much Dale Earnhardt merch they're still selling. Like, motherfucker, it's almost been 20 years since the dude died, and we're still selling brand new merch for Dale Earnhardt. That's insane. I don't know. I feel like when you say who is the greatest of all time, you have to include the three. You have to. You know, include Petty, include Busch if you want to, maybe even Johnson. But you have to include Earnhardt in the greatest of all time discussion. And I feel like, granted, Dale didn't win 200 times, but he also didn't race as long as Petty did. And he didn't race in as many series as Busch did. He didn't race against the bland competition that Johnson did. Or does. Just come on. You gotta give the man credit, because he changed the sport for the best. I know it's a weird topic for me to put on my channel, but like, I've been getting back into NASCAR this year, and it's been great. I love it. I've almost watched every single race that I can. I just love it. It's so nice to get back into a sport that I used to watch as a kid. Also, I've been playing a lot of NASCAR on my Twitch channel. It's been really weird. Anyway, I hope you liked it. Hope you liked this video. I mean, if you have anyone else you want to throw in the greatest of all time discussions, go ahead, let me know. But right now, Dale Earnhardt is still my greatest of all time, and he probably always will be. I'm a little biased, but come on, he's the GOAT. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I want to listen to some more NASCAR radio. Nah, I gotta catch up on my bracket, because shit's happening and I can't fucking watch. Anyway, goodbye!